turn this a little bit, if that's okay. Still good, right? Okay, so really cool thing about talking about lease options and subject to already is they go really well together. So if you saw the other one or if you haven't seen the other one, when we get through this, actually going through subject to and going through lease options is going to be really beneficial. So I'm Alexa Migna, like we said, and we're going to run through. I am pointing this way, right? Okay, great. Thank you, Real Estate Riches Club, for having me. I'm very happy to be here. And of course, I'll come 2-3 times, whatever you'd like next year. I'm happy to come out and help as much as possible anytime that I can. So how many houses are there? How many houses are there out there? A lot of houses, right? How many of those houses do we want to buy?
All of them.
All of them. That is my favorite answer. Yes. What's your name?
Marlena.
Marlena's got the best answer. So all of them. So maybe, you know, like me, I didn't have all the money to buy all the houses, and I needed to figure out a different way to do that, right? So we're going to talk about buying houses subject to, and we're going to get into what that is and how it works and go from there. So what does your business look like today? As we talked, you know, envisioning your fears and talking about what's going on, people in this room might be brand new. They might be very experienced. But thinking about what your business looks like today is where we want to start. So does your business look like this beautiful hillside of trees and prosperity and wonderful, you know, growing things and beautiful animals frolicking around? Or does your business look like a terrible, barren desert with no leaves and horribleness, right? Huh?
You forgot the lightning.
The lightning? Oh, is there lightning in there?
That's
Okay.
the property to buy.
That is. See, I like that. We're looking at it differently already, right? So where is your business today? You know, Howie brought up a couple great points already today, looking at where you're at, evaluating where you're at, talking with this community as to where you're at is so important. I love this one. So with this, are you just sitting there tired and not doing anything? Are you hanging out? This is in reference to my dog. I have a crazy little dog that some of you may have had the pleasure of meeting. And this is what she looks like when she comes home from the dog park. And she gets exhausted. She runs in circles. She just wears herself out chasing nothing. She has a great time, so I think there's a fun element. She has a good time, so that's okay. But you know, she's just sitting there. She's not accomplishing anything, right? So we want to make sure we're doing that. My promise today is obviously not soliciting in the words of Howie earlier. I love this sign. We're not soliciting. We're not the Girl Scouts or Amazon or wine deliveries. Okay, though, if you have wine, you can bring wine at any time. So if we solicit, you have permission to meet me up. So obviously there will be a way to get in contact with me if I can help in any other way. I've worked with Howie. I've worked with Carrie. We've done deals together. We've also been in the coaching program together. So we do have a lot of resources that we can share as well. Okay, so in the next hour, we're going to talk, as Howie covered, you know, building our business, we need to have systems. So the system that I use in every kind of deal I do, whether it's lease options or subject to, is the wealth system. And we're going to walk through what the wealth system means, how it works, and how to relate it to your business. Because your business really isn't a business until you have systems in place and you're doing the same thing every single time. Can you guys relate to that?
Yes.
Have you? I know this is a big thing for Howie and Carrie and Rick at KBH. You know, they were doing a ton of deals. They had a lot of stuff going on, but they didn't have the systems in place to continue to grow. And we've seen so many of our very successful investors, much like KBH, when they start getting those systems in place, things just blow up. So the earlier you can start building those systems in your business, the more successful you're going to be. You can buy all the houses.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So we buy houses for cash. Wealth system, this is the W. So write this down. We're going to cover it a couple times tonight, so we make sure you get it. The W stands for where are the deals? And we're going to go through this, and then I'm going to relate it to subject to as well. So here's a quick overview. Wealth, W, where are the deals? This is Augie Bylot, if you don't know, and this is my favorite photo of him. He hates that I use it, but it's a really great photo because I think it looks like he's having like a crazy amount of fun. Anyway, so if you see him, just let him know you saw the jumping off a fountain photo. He'll really like it. Exploring motivation. So every single deal, where are the deals? And then we explore motivation, right? And analyze the what's and whys. We want to figure out what makes the deal, why the person wants to sell, why the person needs to buy. Every single transaction, we're doing these things. And feel free to take pictures or anything like that if you guys want to. And obviously it is live streamed, so if you need anything, you can always go back to the live stream as well. This is another good one, Abagi. I think his are more fun. He looks uncomfortable, so I like it. Lay out a plan. So every single deal, no matter what kind of transaction it is, we need a plan. We need Rosie, right? We need to be able to, it is Rosie, right? Okay, good. So we need Rosie to clean our house when it's done. I'm not a very good house cleaner. I don't clean my own house very well, so I'm sure not cleaning my my renovations when they're done. Right, Mom?
Right.
Okay. So she knows. And then team up for the close. So there are a lot of people that are on our team. Rosie's on our team. As Rick was mentioning with the e-rent payment, I've used it for years. That is a part of my plan. That is a part of my team. Even though it's not a real person, it is something that makes our process run smoothly. So I do kind of consider them a team member. And have your exit, or I kind of like to say exits, because sometimes we have a plan when we go into a deal, right, Howie? Howie has a favorite deal that I and his wife did together that I left for Italy at the end of the deal, and they had to deal with everything while I was in Italy, and he cursed me out a few times. But having multiple exits is very important because our first plan did not go the way that we wanted it to go. And we made great money. I don't remember what we made on the house, but it was a substantial amount of money. But it wasn't, it wasn't plan A. Plan A didn't work out. It was plan B, and, sometimes that's how it goes. So have your exits, add an S on your notes. Okay, so what are we doing to find leads today? Maybe shout some things out for me. What are we doing to find leads today? How are we looking for houses?
Letters and postcards.
Door knocking, letters, postcards. What else?
Bandit signs.
Bandit signs, awesome.
Speaking to friends.
Speaking to friends, excellent, excellent.
Door hangers.
Door hangers, cool. You're not a door hanger gal. What was that?
Driving for dollars.
Driving for dollars, awesome. So these are all things that we can be doing and we should be doing on a regular basis, right? I was talking to James earlier, and you're doing a little bit of all those, right? A little bit of mailing letters, a little bit of door knocking. That's kind of how I started. I did a little bit of everything. I took a little bit of action in every single area because I figured one of those things would work, and here we are. So I've done about 75 deals in the last 3 years. So those little bits of action have stacked up and done really well, okay? So as we're coming to an end of 2018, I want you to think about 2019. We got these green trees like we talked about right away. That's what my 2019 is looking like. It's gonna be a really good year. 2018 is gonna finish strong. It's gonna be awesome. My mother's joining real estate full-time the next 2 months. Woo!
Yeah.
Go mom, go mom. She's already bought her first subject too. Woohoo!
Wow.
So awesome. We've done a lot of Airbnbs together. So there's a lot of things going on that are making 2018 end well. But how's it going for you guys? Are you guys cheering? Are we having a great year so far? Or do we need to take some action that maybe we're holding back on because of fear, like how we talked about earlier? You don't have to answer,
Quiet.
but think about it. I want to be the person that's excited about next year. I want to be the person that's moving forward and making things happen. And I was wearing my Make Things Happen shirt earlier today. So again, as I think it was Howie, I'm talking about all the things you talked about. So the community is so important. The community that I'm a part of is Creating Wealth USA. Our mastermind group has John, has my mother, has Andre, has Ron, has Claudette. So many of the people in this room, Carrie and Howie and Vinny, have been a part of the program for years. We have those people that we can constantly lean on. We can constantly work together with. We can have, whether it be partnering on deals. I've bought deals from people in this room. I've partnered on deals with people in this room. And I think that's so important, having a good community of people. Everybody in this room, you guys are part of the KBH or Real Estate Riches Club community. So take advantage of it, share your business cards, have a great time, and lean on everybody else in the room, because that's the thing that made a huge difference in my life, the people that we know. So when the going gets tough, the tough get going. That's what I did. I know I'm a big action taker. Every time Howie was talking about things that we don't do. Now, there's things I haven't done in my life, don't get me wrong. A lot of you know I've lost 45 pounds recently. And yes, or as we like to say, I've lost a toddler. So, sounds very strange. I know, it makes you laugh, so that's good.
You're out on the internet right
Oh, I know, it's okay. I don't say anything anywhere that I don't think should be okay behind a sheriff's desk, so.
now.
That was that light. At least there's a cover.
All right. We'll set it over there because it's straight. Anyway, while we were doing that last exercise, that's what I was thinking about. I knew for how many years to lose weight, right? We all know how to lose weight. Like eat less, exercise, it's not that hard. But it's really hard, right? How many of you have struggled to lose weight? I know I'm not the only person in the room. Thank you, lots of us.
No, I'm struggling to gain weight.
Well, whatever it is you're struggling, you just eat more. It's not hard, right? I did it. I don't know how you can do it.
Yeah, you just gotta keep eating.
Vinny's one of my best friends, and he's trying to gain weight as I'm trying to lose weight. So we have a very different diet plan, very different accountability buddy. That hey, you should eat 4 chicken breasts, and I'm gonna eat 1. So it's been an entertaining road. But that example that Howie gave, we know so much of the time. We know. I knew when I started, if I went out and I talked to enough people at my house, right? It's not that hard. We can figure out a way to do it. But we're not getting in front of the people. We're not actually doing it. We're not going to mess up. We're not going to make anything happen, right? So August 2016, for those of you that don't know me, I lost my best friend and husband to a massive heart attack, which is insane. And it's something that could have very easily stopped my path in real estate, like harsh, right? We had bought about 11 houses at that time, 11 or 12, and kept about 8 or 9 of them as rental properties. So I was on this path, but I was so happy to be on this path because it gave me the passive income to go home for a month, to not have to go to a job, not have to punch a clock, not have to be a W-2 employee, not have to do any of those things that we just wouldn't have that flexibility in. So this for me is a really easy time for me. I could have stopped with those 10 houses. I had a decent income coming in, but I love what I do. So that month I continued sending letters, I continued doing all the things that we're doing because I had a system, not because I was doing it. Because it sure as hell wouldn't have happened if I had to do it, right? I didn't do anything. I was just messing around, hanging out with family, being where I needed to be at that time. And I know people say that life happens like when it's, not okay, but when you can handle it. And I think that if I hadn't met the community that I'm such a massive part of now, I sure wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't be telling you what I'm going to tell you in the next hour, okay? So 2017 was a huge restart. I think I did about 40 properties in 2017. It's hard to keep track after a certain point. Like the first 12, I emailed them to the title company with the number, like deal number 1, 1422, whatever, deal number 2. And then after a while, you're like, I can't watch this. Like I have a record, but I'm not counting anymore. So we're at about 75 deals that we've done right now. And just got a new website. This is one of those things that when we start out as real estate investors, we don't always focus our time or our effort in the right place. I did have a very poor website when I started. I made it myself on Wix. Nothing against that, but I'm not a good technical person. So I didn't do a great job of making a website. Just updated our website, and we already started getting more hits, more people that are looking to sell their house because we're doing it the right way. So I want to say wherever you're at is where you need to be, taking those little steps of action, taking whatever is going on along the way and pushing forward and making it happen is exactly where we do. And life happens is kind of our motto. And I think it's a fun one. It really fits in with real estate. We deal with so many people that are struggling. I actually bought a house on Wednesday. I got a house under contract on Wednesday. And this is a woman that her house was going up for auction. So she's in a really tough spot. I actually saw her this morning. I was donating time or volunteering for the food drive this morning in the town I live in. And I saw her there again. And it's just so cool to be connected to the community, giving back and really having yourself be known in such a good way. You know, it's not all real estate investors that are just out to make money. People like KBH, people like myself, and so many other people in the room do so much good as well. I want to focus on that and make sure you guys are going that way too. So think about the good. Think about the other cool things we can do for people all along the way. So here are just a couple of the partners that I've worked with. A couple of them are in this room. We've got the beautiful Carrie, the more stunning Carrie in this photo. Not a good picture, not a good, so it goes off, but Carrie and I have done quite a few deals together. Again, going back to the community, when we can work with a community that has the base knowledge that we have, and we can partner together to leverage our time, leverage our skills. My mother and I have partnered on deals. There's a couple other people in our mastermind group. Obviously, we got Vinny in the middle there. Vinny and I have done, I don't know, four or five deals together this year. So a substantial amount of deals are done with other people. So make sure you're communicating again with everybody in this community. If there's an opportunity for you to work together, do it. When I first started, I didn't realize partnering with people was so much fun and so necessary. So I realized I can go to Italy and leave Howie with a terrible seller or buyer or however that works. And he's going to cover for me, because if they're gone, I'm going to cover for them. And that's one of the really cool things. It's not making less money. It's making a great amount of money and not having to cover every single part of the deal. You'll work with me again, even though you were mad at me that week, right?
Yeah, maybe. But to add what Lexi's saying, I mean, Carrie and I talked a lot about this last year, because we made kind of a big jump in our business as well last year. We didn't realize this going in, but when we look back and we look at the numbers, most of our deals are partnered with somebody. We do very, very few percentage of our deals where it's just us. And it's just because it works better that way. And so I think that that's something to keep in mind as you go forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. So as you run through, on the top corner, it's Tim and Lisa Schmidt. They're in our mastermind program. He has a killer job, a great, corporate, awesome job, trying to get out of it. He recently let his wife quit her job because of real estate, which is awesome, right? Round of applause for letting your wife quit your job if that's one of your goals. Carrie's been working on getting Howie to quit his job for years, so we'll get there, right? Tom McNamara, and my mother's sneaking into that photo too. I don't know if you can see her, but she photobombed us, which I think is awesome. Tom McNamara is just recently retired from his corporate job. He is a partner in a big brokerage, Realty 320, which is a company that we work with as well, and does, I don't know, hundreds of deals a year. I can't even tell you how much Tom does. But these are the kind of people in my community every single day. Krista Hickson is maybe 40, maybe at most. She retired. She volunteers for the zoo, and actually the Sanford Zoo. And she owns a karate studio now that she gives back to kids. She does real estate to pay for those things. So I know for me, I didn't know real estate was really going to be my passion, which it kind of turned out to be. But my passion is traveling, and real estate gives me the power to travel. So we've also got, obviously I touched on Carrie. Maggie is the other one in that photo. We were at her wedding this weekend. If you follow me on Facebook, there were a ton of wedding photos up. But we work together. We've done a couple deals together as well. I mentioned Vinny in the middle already. And then Greg Bond, another killer investor who does a ton of deals on a regular basis. And he's actually empowering their real estate brokerage to invest in themselves and grow as well. So really, really cool people in the community. Another great reason to be involved in general. So again, 2018, time is running out. What are we going to do differently for the next 60 days or less, right? Like 50 days till the end of the year. Plus you got all these holidays. You can kind of make excuses about that, right? Like Thanksgiving. I mean, nobody's going to sell a house around Thanksgiving, right?
Nonsense.
Christmas. Oh my gosh. Everybody leaves town, right? I think. I don't know. We're probably going to buy at least 5 or 6 more houses this year. What do you think you're going to buy more this year? At least 5 or 6.
Maybe. We're not as badasses.
They are. Right, Rick?
Yes.
They have Rick, so what do you struggle with today? most people struggle with not having a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money when I started. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that don't have a lot of money. Even if you have a lot of money, like, do you really want to risk it all? I don't know, probably not, right? Real estate's risky. You might lose money. And if you don't have money, you can't lose money, so you can't get started, so you're not gonna do anything, and that's no fun. You wanna be able to control your future and not rely on other people. Like Howie and I talked about, a W-2 job is just that. It's a means to an end.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation. You know, layoffs happen all the time. I have a girlfriend who works for AT&T, and she probably calls me once every 2 months thinking she's gonna get laid off. Like, man, you gotta change this. Like, you need to take control of this yourself and figure out a way to do that. Real estate's that way for me, and I think that's that way for a lot of you in this room. We can control real estate. We can do the things to make deals and go forward. Oh, one more. What you're doing isn't working. You're sick of spinning your wheels. I don't know, when I started, before I met this great community I was just talking about, I had listened to Bigger Pockets and I listened to other things online, and I thought I should talk to realtors and buy houses, and it'd be really easy. Just call a bunch of houses and you'll buy one of them. It'll be great. But I didn't know. I didn't have the money. I didn't have any knowledge. So I didn't know what to do until I met the people in this room, and I realized there's so many other tools that I could be using. Then it clicked. Then it made sense that I could move forward. And I don't have the time. I know the time is a big one. My mother's a big one that's put off real estate. So she's seen me do a lot of deals in the last 3 years. So I know she gets harassed by a lot of people of, why don't you do real estate? Because she didn't have the time. She was busy. She owned another business. So now we're forcing her to have the time and focus on real estate. How's it going so far?
I'm focused right now.
Because everybody's looking at you
They're
right
all
now.
staring and so focused right now. Yeah.
Totally. So again, our wealth system, we're going to use this on every single deal, every kind of transaction, right? Where are the deals? Exploring motivation, analyze the what's and whys, lay out a plan, team up for the close, so how we can help you when you go to Italy, and have your exits, right?
Yeah, I can stay and do the work.
Yeah, no, next time. So what is the most important thing? Being yourself. I am who I am all the time. I am probably a little crazy. I smile a lot. I'm kind of loud. I mean, you can decide what other things I am, but being yourself. People are so busy being somebody else. They're trying to be what the person behind the door they're knocking thinks they're supposed to be. That's not comfortable. That doesn't look good. It doesn't work. Be yourself, however you need to do it. I owned a door-to-door sales company for about 10 years. So I've knocked more doors than most people will ever knock in their lifetime. And it is the best education for dealing with people that you could ever have. Have you knocked doors? You look like you're like, yes, I know. You've been knocking doors? Are you being yourself out there?
Absolutely.
Good. I see Boston, so you must represent that at the door as well?
No.
No, not that much of yourself.
I'm down here a lot.
Okay. No, but being yourself. This is something that whatever I tell you to do, obviously I want you to do it. I want you to follow the things that I say, because to Howie's point, if you do the things we tell you to do, you're going to be successful, but do it in your own way. You know, my mentor, Augie, is, a 60-something-year-old guy who talks a very different way. He talks like a retired banker. It's not at all the way I talk. Now, I might say some of the same things that he says, but I use my own language. I say things like super and cool and whatever other millennial words. We are on live stream. And I swear, which is what Howie just referenced. And I swear. So it's okay, you swore up here. Anyway, people buy from people that they know, they like, and they trust. And this is something that is said a million times over. And for some reason, we forget and we come off untrustworthy when we're not being ourselves. For ourselves, we're much more trustworthy. So be yourself, be comfortable in your own skin, and get out there and knock a bunch of doors. You'll be fine. People will yell at you, but it'll be okay. It'll be really good.
That's comfort.
Well, they're going to yell. But, one of the biggest things about knocking doors is that you have no idea where that person's at. You have no idea what's going on in their lives. You have no idea. When I first started in door-to-door sales, I was a bartender before that, so everybody liked me, right? When you're giving them drinks, like the only time they don't like you is when you cut them off. So the rest of the time, everybody likes you. So when I started knocking doors and somebody was mean to me, I was like, why would you be mean to me? Everybody likes me. This is so weird. Is there something wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with me. People have bad days. So I went out, I knocked doors. There were like 20 people that were mean to me. And I wrote them down, and I probably wrote silly notes like mean, angry, slam the door, rude, whatever, right? They might have been more vulgar. I'm not sure. Because this was like 11 years ago. But I went back to those people like a month or two later because I read a book that said, fear is just this thing we make up, right? So I went back to these people and I found out crazy things. Somebody had lost a friend the day that I knocked on their door. I'm probably going to be a pretty rude person if somebody died the day you knock on my door, right? That happens. That's life. We see people in a gas station that are crabby and we take it out on their horrible people. They might just be having a bad day. Smile, be yourself. It's okay. Everything will be fine. Maybe they don't buy from us. Maybe somebody else will down the road. Okay? So the 6 secrets to subject 2. What holds us back, like we just talked about? Fear. Fear holds us back more than anything else. One of my favorite authors is Brian Tracy. Huge fan of him. Probably the first 10 sales books I read were all Brian Tracy. And he says, one of the things he said right away is, if there were no fear in your life, if you knew that every single person that you talked to in a 24-hour span, midnight to midnight, was going to sell you their house, how early would you start?
Midnight.
Thank you. How late would you work?
Midnight.
Midnight. Like, would you take a long lunch?
No. Work right through it.
Work right through it, right? If we knew that every person was going to say yes to us, we'd constantly be working. But we find ways to just do nothing and not move our business, not move our lives forward. Why is that? So we let fear get in the way. Great exercise in the beginning for things that I care and talk about a lot, because fear is that thing. Again, my mother, she's in the room, she's getting picked on all night. She is one of the people that she's let fear hold her back numerous times in life. I own a door-to-door sales company. I tried recruiting my mother for years and years and years and years and years. She wouldn't do that. She starts doing it, she kicks butt. She's the best door-to-door salesperson we have. And you're like, Mom, why didn't you do it earlier? I told you it was going to work. Same thing, real estate, right? Same thing. So fear gets in the way of all of us. It's happened to me. It's happened to each and every one of you. So we can change that if we're aware of it, we're thinking about it, we're conscious of it, or if we have accountability buddies like Howie and Vinny and my mom and John and Gabe and everybody in this room to call you out when you're not doing what you're doing. Accountability buddies in the front row, obviously. So call them out when you're not doing it. Midnight to midnight, she's working tomorrow. Gabe's ready?
I already
I'm
did
gonna say
that
my
yesterday.
classic Gabe stuff, which like half people will care about. I saw a thing recently because I work in guest services at a theme park, and not everybody will go to a theme park in the world, and that's why I have a hard time with job stuff.
And we get a hookup.
But there's like a couple things that link us as humans that people think they're going to be bad at things with, but like you will have to eat and you'll have to live somewhere. So food brings people together just as much as living places bring people together. And I think a really important thing, if you are afraid to do this and you came here tonight, you're like, wow, she's really good at that. And she did 70 deals and I'll never do 70 deals. The thing with it is it's like the person that you're talking to is losing one of their necessities a lot of the time, especially with subject 2. So think about that, and it's like, think about it as like, hey, let's go get lunch together instead of like, I'm going to buy your investment, because that's an easy way to think about it.
Yeah, I like that. It is. I mean, housing and food are 2 things that are very important in life. And to that very same point, the people on the other side are very scared. You knock on someone's door, they might be more scared than you are. They might be like, John's a tall guy. They might be like, this guy's coming to rob me. Just kidding. Probably nobody thinks that. But, there is that situation. We hear a knock on our door. And there are times where you're like, oh my gosh, who is that? Like, why would we be scared of who's knocking on our door? But we've all done it. Yeah. We make the example like a call from your boss. One of my good friends, she does this to herself all the time. Her boss gives her a call and she automatically gets scared and freaks out. She didn't do anything wrong. Why do we do that to ourselves? Because we're so ingrained to fear, we have to break it somewhere. We have to get out of it. So education, again, education is huge. I've invested a lot into my education in sales and in door-to-door. I've invested a lot into my education in real estate. I think it's important to know the right things and do the right things and have somebody else tell me that those are the right things. I know my mother promised to listen to me for the next 2 months, everything I tell her to do. So we'll let you know how it works out, Howie, that $365, $200,000 thing. Should be good. You're excited, right, Mom?
I'm so excited.
And then, like we said earlier, do we have the money? How much money do we have? Do we have a lot of money laying around that we can play around with real estate like the Monopoly board? Or do we need to get creative and have some fun? I know I had a little bit of money when I started, and it didn't make me very creative. I bought a house for cash, and as soon as I ran out of that money, I'm like, oh gosh, so how do we do creative stuff? This is gonna be good. So it forced me to do it. So I think almost starting with no money or little money is better to get creative and do these types of deals and other types of deals. So no problem. We're gonna talk about subject 2 and give you the secrets of subject 2. Are you ready?
Woo! Yes.
Woo!
Woo!
Okay. So taking over payments is possible. It happens all the time. I've probably done 40 real estate transactions this year. 15 of them are taking over the payments on someone else's mortgage. So does everybody know what subject 2 is? Everybody? A little bit? I appreciate your honesty. You don't know what subject 2 is?
Oh, they're asking if we
Oh,
do.
okay. I might have asked that. Okay,
I
awesome.
don't know.
Thank you. Perfect. So subject 2 is taking over the payments on someone else's mortgage, taking ownership of the house, and we'll explain how that process works in a minute, but literally buying a house that already has a loan in place, just taking over the payments, not showing our credit, not doing those things we do to get a bank loan any other way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds crazy, right? Who would do that?
Lots of people.
Lots of people. Lots of people would do that. I foreclosed on a house almost 10 years or over 10 years ago. Had somebody knocked on my door, I got letters, but had somebody knocked on my door and told me about this, I would have done it in a heartbeat. My credit sucked for a long time. Finally, I have my life together. But it was terrible. It would have been a lot easier road had somebody just knocked on my door and did it. So the point, get out, knock doors, talk to people, be yourself. Okay. All right. So taking over payments is possible. There are a ton of people that are willing to do this. Banks are extremely happy to get the payments caught up. Do you know how excited they are? Holy cow. They're jacked, right? It's really, really great for them. How many houses are out there sitting in foreclosure, empty, problems in our neighborhoods, right? We all know them. They got those silly white signs on. There's like a bad kid in the neighborhood breaking in. It's terrible. We don't want those houses. Neither do banks. Those are non-performing assets. That is not good for a bank. It doesn't look good on their bankroll things, whatever those things are called. So we don't want those. It is legal. This is one of the biggest objections we get to doing subject 2. Oh my gosh, is that legal? It is totally legal. And it happens all the time. So this is one of those things that don't talk yourself out of doing this because of all these made up excuses, right? These are the biggest reasons people don't do subject 2. They make up in there, it doesn't sound legal. Do you know what legal sounds like? I have no idea. But if somebody else is doing it, being successful with it, I'm going to talk to those people. I'm going to do what they're doing. And that's exactly why I'm here today. Okay. Insurance is easy to get. So this is one of those things that often stumbles people, right? Stops them from moving forward, stops them from even trying to get the deal. It's very easy to get insurance on subject 2 properties as long as you know the right people. Here, I think Howie and Carrie and Rick all use Florida Insurance Planners, which is a great company, very easy to deal with. I think I replaced 10 roofs in Irma last year. So I love my insurance agent, and I still love my insurance agent after 10 roofs. It is really, really good in general. This is great for the seller's credit. This, again, is one of those things of how's it going to affect the credit. Most of the houses I buy and buying subject 2 or taking over the payments of, these people are behind on their payments. Some are not, but most are. And this is a huge bump for their credit. This summer, I actually sold a house that I bought taking over the payments a couple years ago, And I called the seller, let them know that the house sold, and they were upset at me. I've been making their payment every month on time. That's the only thing that's being paid on time in their lives. Like, that literally is going to take a hit on their credit because I'm not paying their mortgage anymore, right? Which seems crazy, but these are things that we don't think about. We think like, oh, if we buy a house from John and we take over, it's going to hurt his credit. No, because I'm a good person. I'm going to pay his mortgage on time because I'm not making any money if I'm not paying his mortgage on time and renting out his house or lease optioning his house, whatever we may do, right? And then allows you to buy so many more houses than you could on your own credit or with your own money. Does that make sense? I have no bank loans, 0. So 75 deals I've done in the last 3 years, just over 3 years, 0 bank loans. That feels really good, really, really good, right? I don't know, I know I wasn't an investor back when the crash happened, but I know a lot of investors that were. And some of these people had multiple bank loans and multiple foreclosures and crazy things happen. This gives us so much flexibility. It also allows us to buy houses that are 10 years into the mortgage or 15 years into the mortgage. And when you start to use a financial calculator, which is a lot of fun, that is really, really good to be that far into a mortgage. I won't bore you with numbers, but it's awesome. Trust me. Okay. Okay. So again, kind of recapping, I know I jumped into this early, but I didn't want to talk about it and have you not know what it is. But buying houses subject to is simply buying someone else's house that already has a mortgage in place. Have you guys heard of assuming a mortgage? So assuming a mortgage is something that's talked about a little bit more, but assuming literally means qualifying, giving my bank, my records, my tax records, my W-2 if I've got one, which I don't have, which is another reason I don't want banks. I don't want real bank loans because it's crazy, a lot of work. I'm not into that kind of work. So it's a lot easier to take over somebody else's mortgage and it helps them in the situation that they're in as well. I make their bank, or you will be making their mortgage payment every single month. So make it on time or make it early, please. We don't want to be that person that doesn't make a mortgage payment. Make sure it goes in, right? I had one that was transferred, and luckily it was transferred during a hurricane because I didn't realize it. So we want to make sure that happens. I'm a great marketer, networker rather, and I'm friends with all my sellers on Facebook. So everybody that sold me a house is probably on there watching right now. Love you guys. So everybody is there to talk to me. I'm super open about who I am. I'm myself everywhere, right? So I don't want to be in a situation where something goes wrong. So make sure we're doing those things. And it's actually not that complicated. It sounds simple when we break it down that way, and it really is. Taking over the mortgage on somebody else, or taking over the payments on somebody else's property is a great way to buy houses. Every time I talk to somebody that's selling their house, one of the things I ask is, will you sell the house for what you owe? Do you know how much of the time that answer is yes? A lot of the time. A lot of the time. There are so many people that are in a situation that they need to get out of and they need to move forward. I mentioned that a lot of the folks I buy houses from are behind on their payments. I've bought a handful of subject twos that are current. Whether it be they're concerned about their credit, they're not going to be able to make the next month's payment. That's a big reason for people to do subject to. Or even they've already bought another house or they've moved out of the area and they're making 2 mortgage payments. I don't want to make 2 mortgage payments. That stinks, right? So we're here to help those people. And obviously we have the process to go through to make it easier. We have a great team. We work with a great title company. We do these things all very, very smoothly. But it is a very easy process. Okay, so how does this work? Excuse me. The seller is told that we'll place the property into a trust. So I buy all of my properties in land trusts. And if you're investing in Florida, I highly recommend using land trusts. They're a great tool. They're a great tool to hold title to properties and do your estate planning purposes. So anything happens to me, my mother and my brother get all my stuff. Very easy. All the houses just go to them. They can deal with them. Right, Mom?
Absolutely.
She's like, don't talk like that. But it's life, right? Like things happen. So we want to make sure we're prepared for those things that happen. So when we're buying a house, when we're buying it subject to or taking over the payments on the mortgage, we let the seller know this is how we do it. We put the property into a trust. And we do that for two reasons. One is the way I buy all my houses. So we want you to do that in all situations. It keeps your name off public record. The other one is it doesn't alert the bank that we're selling the house. Now there's ways that you can sell the house, and those are all spelled out, but it just keeps it very quiet. It keeps it easy. We don't have to go through the whole process. Now we do tell the bank that we've changed the title of the property. We change the insurance. We do some other things that we go over in our programs and make sure that you're covered all along the way. Insurance is obviously important on all properties. And then you're excited, right? You get the deals. You're good to go. More deals. More deals than you could do with your own bank loans or your own money, okay? So investor benefits. We get to get in light. We always want to get in light, right? Getting in light, not having a lot of money. If we don't have a lot of money, we can't spend a lot of money to buy a house, right? So this is a great way for you to take action, get a couple deals, and make some money, as well as not spending much of your own money. So we minimize repair costs. A lot of the times when we're buying houses subject to, we're not buying, the barren desert house. Now we buy those houses, but we typically don't buy those houses taking over a mortgage, right? So we might pay cash for a house like that, or other people's money, as we talked about with James earlier. But when we're taking over the payments or subject to houses, we want to have low repair costs. We want to turn around and get into a lease option situation. We want to sell it to somebody else and turn that property very quickly. It minimizes our holding costs. I've actually bought a couple properties subject to just for the purpose of flipping, and I didn't need to get a hard money loan. A hard money loan is like a very expensive loan to borrow cash from somebody else. They're like loan sharks, but not quite loan sharks, right? A little bit less than loan sharks. They charge like 12 or 14% interest. I've been able to flip a couple houses for 5 or 6% interest on an amortizing loan. That's cool, right? Yeah, way better than paying somebody 15% interest. And then gives you the ability to do more deals. This is the biggest part of subject to for me. I want to own as many rental properties and be able to travel. These are things that are important to me. My family, my brother's graduating college next summer, so we're going to go to Italy as a family. I like Italy, in case you haven't heard. So we're going to go to Italy as a family. And we wouldn't have the ability to do that if we were just flipping houses, because that's a little bit more of a full-time job. I'm not really full-time job material. I'm more like get the deals, take a vacation, get some more deals, take a vacation. Right, guys?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get to help families in need. And I think this is one of the coolest things. Being that I've gone through foreclosure, it's something that I tell people at almost every door I knock. It's in some of my letters because I think we should be who we are, right? That situation sucked. It was no fun. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But it was a situation where I needed help and I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know what to do. My family didn't have the means to help me in that situation, or maybe I was too proud to ask, but it doesn't really matter, right? That's exactly how those people are feeling today. They're behind on their mortgage. They're in a struggling spot. We have an opportunity for them to get out a different way. And a lot of the times the houses might need a little bit of work. And, realtors, no offense to realtors in the room, but realtors, Brian Alterman, love you. They kind of want houses to be pretty and perfect, right? They don't want like your junk all over the house. They don't want the property we just bought for my mother. Her house bought subject to. The sellers were happier than heck to leave all of their furniture behind. And that's something that we offer. Leave whatever you want in the house because this person's in need. They need to get out of this situation. What makes sense for them? So seller benefits, they get to move on their schedule. They get a fair price for the property. I'm big on being fair. If I can make money and you can make money, we can all be happy, right? We don't need to be crazy greedy. We don't need to be crazy. We don't need to, make a ton of money on every single deal. I've made $1,000 on a deal and I've made a lot more on a deal. So whatever the situation can bear and whatever's going to make sense and give the seller what's important to them, that's what I want to do. Debt relief, that's again the big one, right? So if I'm taking over your mortgage payment, you don't have to pay it anymore. You don't have to worry about it. Think about how a seller feels when they're behind on their mortgage or they're making 2 payments and they're struggling to make ends meet. If we're taking half that debt away, that's awesome, right? Like go back to the imagination exercise. Like that would feel really good. I would love that. So make sure we're thinking about how that seller is going to feel and we're talking to them. And then potential to save or improve their credit. Think about the seller that's mad at me that I sold their house. So I was reporting every single month that was on their credit, that they were paying that mortgage. If you haven't had a mortgage in your name, a mortgage in your name is great for your credit if it's being paid on time. Terrible if it's not. Ask me how I know, right? And then the peace of mind of knowing their home is sold. Example back to my mother's house that she bought. That seller needed to move, but they didn't know when they could move. They didn't know when it was going to happen. The ease for them of once we signed everything and they could go whenever they wanted in the next 6 months, because it doesn't matter to us when we buy the house, right? Anytime in the next 6 months. Would they move in 2 weeks?
I think it was 2 weeks.
Because I think it was the stress of not knowing how the process was going to go and then being like, oh, it's done? Great. I can sleep fine. I'm going to get out of town. I'll see you guys later. So, and that debt relief was gone. All those things go together. And then like we talked about earlier, the lender wins too. Back payments are brought current. Payments are restored and maintained. They don't need to foreclose. Foreclosure is expensive for banks. It's a costly, annoying, long, terrible process. They don't need to increase loan loss reserves. See, this is that thing I was talking about, bankrolls and such. Not a banker. But there's something with how many houses are in foreclosure. They have to have more money on hand and do certain things. So when we do this, they don't have to do that. And then no need to wait up to 2 years to sell. How many of you seen a REO, a real estate owned, bank owned property sit forever because they price it like 4 times too high and then they reduce it like $2,000 a month for 3 years? You're like, why didn't you just take my cash offer right away? I don't know. Nobody's paying attention, but the lender wins too. Makes sense, right? Okay. So when talking to sellers, it's very important. Cute dogs. I try to incorporate cute dogs in my life. I think we should try to do this to Artemis. So when I used to knock doors, I used to sell phone, internet, and television. When I used to knock doors and there was a dog, this is a really good line. You should write this down. But when there was a dog, I love dogs. And again, be yourself, right? Be yourself wherever you are. It's very important. Whenever there was a dog, I told them I worked a lot for CenturyLink and AT&T, DirecTV. I would say whatever company I was working for, this is the only job at CenturyLink that they allowed me to play with dogs. People love it. It's great. And it's true. I love playing with dogs. But keep it simple. That's why there's kisses all over his face. Keep it simple. Just talk about what's important to them. When you knock on somebody's door that's in foreclosure, or you talk to somebody on the phone that calls off a letter, keep it about them and keep it simple. You don't need to explain every single thing that we've talked about tonight. This is an overview for you guys to understand how the process works. And if you don't have the tools and means to do it, call me, call Howie, call Rick, call anybody else in the room and work with somebody else in the room to make the deal happen. And you'll learn a little bit along the way every single time. Or of course, you can invest in education. You can listen to podcasts until you're blue in the face. I'm just more of the action taker. So go out and do it. If you mess up, they don't know what you were supposed to do right or wrong. And in this situation, if we keep it simple, we're not going to say anything wrong, right? We're just going to be simple. So we can buy all the houses. Okay. So here is an outline of the process. Number 1, seller places the property into a land trust. Okay. And this all happens at closing, but it's just to give you an outline of how things work and how it's going to happen. Seller assigns their interest in the land trust. So let's say this is the 123 Main Street Land Trust. Seller assigns their interest to you, okay? The investor, or you. Mortgage stays in the seller's name. So nothing happens with the bank. The mortgage stays in the exact same seller's name. I think there's 4, so if you want to wait to take a picture, so you don't take 4 of them. And then the investor makes monthly payments to the bank, and the seller doesn't worry about the house ever again. There are 4, right? Ever again is a good end. We know it's the end. So yeah, it's pretty simple, right? It's 4 steps. Less than steps for most things. Okay. So how does wealth apply? Did you get it?
I get it.
Okay, good. So how does wealth apply to subject to? Again, I said this is a process for everything. This is the process for buying subject to. This is the process for selling on a lease option. This is the process for getting a private lender. This is the process for every part of my business and what I do on a regular basis. I love my truck selfies. I take a lot of truck selfies for those of you on Facebook. So where are the deals? In subject 2, if you're looking for subject 2 deals, I focus on pre-foreclosures. These are people that are going into foreclosure. So I mail them, I door knock them. That's my favorite. Can you tell? I like knocking doors. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
You meet really cool people, really crazy people, really cool crazy people.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you meet a couple angry people, but they're really not that bad. You know, I mean, you'll be fine. I promise.
Yeah.
If you ever have anything really bad, just call me because I want to know, because it's really not that bad. Nothing's going to happen. So focus on something where it's a good chance that outcome's going to happen, right? So if you're behind on your payments, what kind of things are going on in your mind? What kind of things happen if you're behind on your payments?
Where am I gonna go?
Where are you going to go?
How am I
Great.
gonna get rid of this property?
How are you going to get rid of this property? What else?
When are they coming?
When are they coming? Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
great one. I was so scared when I was in foreclosure. I thought like every knock on the door was legitimately like the sheriff coming to kick me out, right? And that's how people feel.
Yeah.
They're scared. They don't know if it's tomorrow or next week or next year. And if they have a family, I mean, I can't imagine. At least I was a single person. I can't imagine if there were kids in the house. You know, I'd be scared to death. So focus on something where it's likely that that's going to happen. No, like I said, I buy subject twos other ways, but focus on it there. So explore motivation. What matters to them? So many of the subject twos I've bought are because the folks were really scared about their credit and scared that they weren't going to be able to buy a house for another 7 years or something crazy like that. There's something that motivates them personally, not the things we tell you, but them personally. When you're talking to people, listen. I guess that's probably another point we should add in, listening in general, of what is important to that person and focusing on that. So that's what we mean by exploring motivation. Are they the people that when I ask, right, one of the questions I ask, will you sell the house for what you owe? Are they the people that say yes? Those people are more motivated. You know, the people that say, no, I will not. I need $200,000, $100,000 more than my mortgage. They're not motivated people. You know, there might be something we can do for them, but I want to focus on motivation. One of the things that I'm very good at is gauging motivation. So I want to make sure I'm focusing my time in the best place possible. If somebody's totally, you know, rude and upset and they don't want to talk to me, I'm going to try a couple times, like, hey, you know, the next knock on the door might be the sheriff. I'm not trying to get you moving, but you got to do something. You don't have to sell the house to me, but you have to address what's coming, right? And that might bring them back to reality. But we want to make sure if they're motivated, we do everything we can to help them. If they're not motivated, you know, maybe they'll call us in a couple months. And I've had that happen numerous times where somebody calls 3 months later because it got a little more serious, or they realize their friend is now getting foreclosed on and the banks are catching up. So whatever it may be, make sure we're looking at motivation. Analyze the what's and the whys. So the what's and the whys in every deal is going to be a little bit different. You know, does the person need a place to live? Where are they moving? Can they afford to live somewhere else? What are the numbers on the deal? Not every house makes sense to buy subject to, right? Just because you can take over a mortgage doesn't mean you should, right? So there's a lot of deals that when I first started, somebody said you can take over my mortgage. I was like, whoa, I got a deal. I go over there and I'm like, whoa. You owe what? And there are still those houses out there that were, you know, skyrocketing in 2006. And they still owe a ton of money. You're like, how is this humanly possible? But there are those situations. Now, sometimes there's even things we can do. You know, we can buy defaulted paper. We can buy the note behind a mortgage. We can do other things because we've learned more tools and we've invested in ourselves. And laying out a plan. So when we're dealing with a subject too, we want to be very sure that we're putting the property in a trust, that we're doing everything, we're changing the insurance. I can't imagine. There's a property I did last year that got hit with Irma. We got a $55,000 insurance check. What if that would have went to the owner of the property? Do you think I would have got it? I can't imagine I would have got it if it would have went to the owner on the mortgage holder on the property. So making sure that that check came to me and came to the trust, not to the person that has the mortgage. So understanding that process, I mean, that would have been bad. I wouldn't have been able to fix the house. I needed that money to fix the house. And teaming up for the close. So again, working with the right insurance companies, working with the right title company. There are a lot of title companies out there, And some of them are great for buying houses the traditional way. There are very few that are great for buying houses, taking over the payments, or doing some creative stuff. So make sure you're talking to the people in this room that are doing deals. I use Equity Title. They're a great title company. I think you guys do too, right? They're a great title company. They understand how these deals work. If a title company tells you they understand how they work, that's great, but just verify with somebody that's actually done it, because I've heard a lot of horror stories, so I don't want you to go down that road. And then again, have your exits. So in a subject to, there's a couple ways to exit the property. Like I said, I like to buy and hold properties, so I like to keep as many properties as I can, get that monthly cash flow. Depending on how much money I need to catch up the payments and renovate the house, I do a lot of lease options on my subject twos. And we're not going to go into lease options, but you can go back and watch the video of like 4 or 5 months ago when Howie was freaking out about something, and it was good. And I talk all about lease options for an hour and a half. So
It was a great night.
it was a great night. I had a ball. I think we even went drinking afterwards. So it was a fun time. So deal analysis. Everyone likes deals, right? We got to talk about some real deals then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here is Vinny with the beautiful Paula and Jay Span, who are not here with us tonight. But this is a deal that they are doing together. Again, working with partners, right? Very important. You only work with partners, don't you?
I only work with partners.
Only work with partners. I think that's a good motto in life. Only work with partners. So this is the house. This is a really cool house. I actually got to see this house already. And then I was driving for dollars and I ended up on this road and I was like, that house looks familiar. I took a selfie in front of it and sent it to Vinny, and it was sure his house. So this particular deal, it's worth $220,000. ARV means after repair value, for anybody that doesn't know. ARV, after repair value. So it's worth $220,000. They paid $140,000 for the house, and they owe $110,000. And you can take a picture of this if you want to evaluate it later, because I don't know all the deals. But they're behind $10,000. They need to catch up the payments, and Tops is taking over payments system, because we like systems, makes life easier. And they gave $15,000 to the seller at closing. Okay, so the seller needed $15,000. Now this is a lot of money to put into a deal, but this is going to turn out to be a really great deal for them. Right, Vinny? Yes. So exit strategy. They're going to rent to own or lease option, like we talked about, the house for $225,000 and sell it in 24 months or thereabout. Okay. Now, Vinny, did you put any of your own money in this deal?
Very little.
Very little. Probably just like a little bit of cash that you're going to get back in a minute, like $100 to the title company, and
It was less than $1,000.
less than $1,000. So can anybody do a deal for less than $1,000? I always say, like, it's not that we need a little bit more than no money. You know, we need a little bit of cash in our pocket, because it's really tough to do like $0 out of your pocket. But I've done a couple for under $1,000, and that's really good. And if you don't have $1,000, Howie and I do. So
I think this Carrie's done $0.
she has done 0. Yeah. Yes. Well, and I guess I'll talk about one a little bit that's very exciting. So I'm sure it's coming on my screen. So again, at the end, we're going to have something quite exclusive. Ooh, was that what I was talking about? Okay, so remember the wealth system in absolutely everything that we do. I'm going to offer a business accelerator session. It's a 30-minute session. If you want to talk to me, 30 minutes, we're going to talk about where you're at in your business, what you're doing, what you should be doing, maybe what fear is stopping you from doing, and I can push you over the edge, hopefully, if you listen. Yeah, push me off the whatever. Or Vinny, or I'm sorry, or Howie also pushes. So if you want to be pushed by Howie or I, just let us know. But you can text ABC to this phone number, 407-710-0302. And you can, I'll leave it up for a second so you can snap a picture and text me. And we'll set you up with a 30-minute call, figure out what's going on, where you're at, and in the effort of being free and offering cool things, right? Is that cool? Is everybody going to do it? Can we get a, how many people are going to do it? We're going to test this. How many people are going to do it?
I'm counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're not, all the houses isn't doing it? All the houses isn't doing it. All the houses isn't doing it. So like
I'll talk to you directly.
8. Okay, so like 8. We'll see how many we get. We'll report back to the Real Estate Riches Club. Watch out. We're at nine. We're at 9. I
Okay.
feel like a bidder up here. Like, can I have a gavel?
Let's
Let's make it 10. Let's make it 10. Okay. So text that number. Set up a 30-minute call. You talk to me for 30 minutes. It can't be that bad, right? It'll be fun.
It's pretty exhausting.
Oh,
In a
because he
lovely,
knows
lovely
me
way.
in a lovely, lovely way. So it's a $500 value. It's complimentary to you today. We do charge for them, so you might as well take advantage of it while it's free, right? And, understand what's standing in your way. Like we talked about, it is fear so much of the time. There might be one little thing that you can do a little bit differently that can make a difference in your business. That makes sense. If there's one small thing that you could correct, in my life, there's been so many small things I should have corrected earlier that would have changed how life has gone thus far. So I try to be very open to everything that happens and taking feedback. I'm really big on telling me what I'm doing right or wrong and figuring out a way to move forward in the best way possible.
Now, Lexi, you are leaving out of town, so you don't have time for all 10. So, I think probably the first 5 or 6 that sign up.
Ooh, the first 5 or 6 of you 10. So make it happen quickly. I like that, Benny. I am leaving town.
I mean,
I'm
you
going
just
down.
can't fit everyone in.
It's true. It's true. I travel. I don't have Italy on my block yet, but it's coming. So here is another deal. Jersey Street. This is in Cocoa. Cocoa, the Shadowland where no deals are. So Jersey Street. This particular deal, no money. What's even better about this deal is the seller gave me money to take over his mortgage. Can you believe that?
On it, yes.
People give you money to take over their mortgage payments. Let that soak in for a second. I know Howie's done a couple of these too. So this particular deal, we got driving for dollars. We're actually visiting another seller. Me and my partner Tim worked on this particular deal, and there's some things that are cut off on here, but you'll be okay. You can look at the TV screens. So we sent them a letter because we drove for dollars. The house was vacant, and it obviously needed some work. The grass was overgrown, those things that we look for on a regular basis. Purchase price was $73,000 on the mortgage, right? Seller gave us $10,000 towards closing and renovation. So I got 10 grand in my pocket. I used it in the house, but I had no money in the house to get the deal. PITI is $1,006. Now this particular deal, as a very cool bonus, which Vinny didn't know when he made my presentation, this house is actually under contract to sell for $149,000. And it has been rented for the past about a year and a half at $1,450 via e-rent payment, of course. And so this particular deal, my partner and I have been making about $150 a month cash flow. Who wants that? Is that good?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good for you? All right, okay. And then also, we're going to cash checks for like $30,000 each. $30,000 each, is that good?
Yeah.
Everybody likes that, right? Nobody can not raise their hands. And one of the other really cool things that we know, because we're getting educated and we're around the right people, is we've owned this property for over a year, so we're not going to pay as much taxes. Who likes to pay less taxes? Hello, all of us. All of us. So super cool deal, set to close next month, and taking over the payments. It's easy. He already bought another house. He had already moved on. He was out of it, and he was so sick of dealing with this house that that's what mattered. His girlfriend was there. His girlfriend was so excited that he was not going to be spending $1,000 a month. Like literally, his motivation factor was his girlfriend got $1,000 a month instead of this house. Like she reminded him the entire time we were there looking at the house, like, that's $1,000 you can spend on me. Okay? It's about what people care about. It's about their situation. It's not about us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I think or want or do, right? It's about what matters to somebody else. So evaluate the motivation, focus on the motivation. And there is no finish line. We keep going as long as we want to go. We can do as many deals as we want to do subject to, right? We try to tell you, these are everywhere. And we always have a lot of questions. I think I have a little bit of time for questions. What's my time frame on here?
What's our time frame? Let's say 14. We're supposed to be out of here by
9.
Oh, okay.
So a little bit of time for questions. So does anybody have any questions?
I sent you the text and it didn't come back.
Oh, it will.
Yours came back. Yeah, yours came back.
Yours
That's
came back?
weird.
Yeah.
Did you text the right number?
I did. They
Not
took
trying
the
to say
number off
anything.
me.
Yeah.
So I have a question about
Yeah.
the land trusts.
Okay.
I'm in transition from another state
Okay.
over there. The title companies that I work with have attorneys
Sure.
that they work with,
Sure.
and I've been doing this for years. And so they just pretty much say, "All right, what name do you want now?" And I say Benson Family Trust.
Sure.
And
Yeah, you
they're,
could,
okay, and then they just set it all up and it's done.
Sure.
But since I'm in a different state, I'm hearing different things.
Great
I'm
question.
a little unsure. Can I accomplish the same thing at some point
Yes.
eventually here?
Yeah. So
Okay,
her question
I don't wanna
is,
keep repeating it. Over there, it's like it's a Word document.
yeah,
Switch it up.
yeah.
The attorney signs.
Sure, sure. So the question is, she's from another state and she has a situation working in that state, but how does it work here? How do we do a land trust here? How does it work with a title company? Do you need an attorney? That kind of covers the question, right? So we use a company called Commonwealth Trust Services. They do all of our trusts for us. Super easy. They work with equity title. Super easy. The ones that we do all the subject to transactions with. So I use them on every single deal. I get the trust and they do everything. We literally fill out a quick and easy online form, send my stuff over, close my deal. So super simple. And if you need any extra information, just let me know. Okay. Other questions? Howdy.
So, do most of your subject to deals involve sellers who are behind or delinquent in their mortgage situation, or do you do any subject to people that are completely current, but it just seems to make sense to them?
Yeah. So the question is, are all of my subject to sellers behind, or are there some that are current? What's the situation? And percentage wise, I'm not 100%. I'd say like off the cuff of all percentages being made up, about 75% are behind, and it is the bulk of the houses I buy subject to. The rest of them, they are concerned about not making next month's payment, so they're almost behind, or they've already bought another house and they're making 2 payments, much like $10,000 guy, and a couple other properties that we bought. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So more people are going to be behind, I think, in subject to. Now, granted, I told you earlier, where are the subject to deals? I focus on marketing to people that are behind. So a lot of my marketing already decides that I'm going to talk to people that are behind, right? AJ, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sure that you've talked to a lot of owners. When you talk to them, they're going to ask you, what happens if you default on their mortgage?
Yeah, yeah. So-
what's your answer to them that you're going to be secure, and what's their options if that happens?
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. So the question is, what happens when a seller asks you, what happens if you default on the mortgage? Is that right? Right. So how people answer that is different in every situation. Again, it depends on motivation. What's important to them? What matters to them? There's situations where people just don't care whatever happens to the house at any point in the future. There are situations where people are very concerned about their credit and their situation. In all of the subject to transactions that I do, if I am to default, if something happens, again, I always kind of go worst case scenario. If I'm not here to make the payment, my business goes on. My brother, my mother, my family continue in my business, and they're going to continue to make the payment because we're a business. We make money every month that we're making the payment. It doesn't make sense for me to invest your behind payments if you're $10,000 behind and buy this property just to give it back to you next month. So depending on what's important to them is going to be how I answer that question. But being that most of my people are behind, again, why would I stick $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 or like Vinny did $30,000 into a house to not make the payment next month? Doesn't make any sense, right? So figuring out a way to shape that to their motivation is the thing that matters. Okay? And they can, if something were to happen, something crazy happens, again, I like dealing with real people instead of banks. So if something crazy happens and the market goes nuts and something happens, I'm going to call the seller and tell them, hey, we're struggling. This is what's happening. I don't foresee that ever happening. But if something is going to go wrong, that's the route I'm going to take, if there's no way to remedy the situation. At that point, we might try to negotiate with the bank or try a different situation or sell the house. We shouldn't be buying houses that owe more than they're worth. So as long as we're analyzing the numbers and buying good deals, if I can't afford to make the payment, I should sell the house, right? And then I'll make a little bit of money and move on. Brian?
Just go back to where you were kind of leading to with where to find the deals
Mhm.
and you market and focus a lot on pre-foreclosures. What other kind of criteria would be a good place to source the subject to candidates? People,
So your question is, how do you market to other people that might be good subject to candidates?
Besides pre-foreclosure.
Besides pre-foreclosure. Besides pre-foreclosure. So pre-foreclosure is like the obvious one. However, there's some other criteria you can probably put in. People with mortgages that live out of state might be a good one. Not necessarily I live in Lake County, so not necessarily in Lake County because we've got a whole slew of people that never live here that probably have mortgages. Some of them do, some of them do. It might be Facebook ads to people that are behind or something like that. I also buy mortgage late leads, so 60, 90, 120 day late on their mortgage. They're not in foreclosure yet. So those are great deals because they're not as far behind. But it depends on your situation. Having signs, having bandit signs that say something, it's okay to be behind. If you're behind on your mortgage, call me. You just want to kind of not go too far lawyer of like saving your house from foreclosure. Does that make sense? But if you're behind, give us a call. My slogan on my website, life happens. Whatever the situation may be, give us a call. We'll see if we can't figure it out.
We're buying a house up in New York. That was a death in the family scenario,
Mhm.
probate. So sometimes probate leads are.
Yeah, we bought a couple properties that were probates. Probates can often be taking over a mortgage, and there's no one there to report the credit to. So that's another cool aspect of a probate deal. And so I think those are kind of the big ways. And you're gonna just find them where you wouldn't think you'd find them. I've had numerous people just message me on Facebook because I say these things live all the time. I say them in person. I say them wherever I go. I buy houses for any reason. If you're behind, no problem. Whatever the situation is, I just get Facebook messages. Be like, hey, can you buy a house? I'm behind on my payments. So get yourself out there. Okay.
So you mentioned creativity with deals.
Mhm.
A lot of us are creative. What are like some of the things that you've done, not in detail, but creative situations and creative things that you've come up with throughout your deals in 3 years?
Ooh, a long-winded answer. No, I'm just kidding. So the question is, what kind of creative deals have I done? So the example tonight, getting $10,000. I didn't necessarily think that was possible, getting $10,000 from somebody and taking over their mortgage. I've bought a property for no payments and no monthly payments for, 18 months, I think we did. So no payments for 18 months is pretty creative, right? I've bought a property, no money down, and $250 a month. I've bought properties.
Pole barn, he gives them a pole barn, right, for property?
I've done all kinds of crazy things. You're right. So I've bought a trailer from someone in order to buy their house. A trailer filled with tools that I then sold to a contractor that I know that works for me and got a good deal on. So creativity is endless. Like you can do anything. It's so great. My assistant answers calls from sellers as well. And she's realized that she needs to be more creative. So when somebody calls and says they want to buy a house or rent a house from us, she's trained to ask, how much money do you have to put towards your new house? And when they answer $5,000, she follows it up with, do you have anything else? Like, do you have a boat or car or land or house that you may want to sell as well? Right? So there's so many creative aspects that you can work into this business and just continue asking questions. People like asking or answering questions, and they most likely will, as long as you're kind and nice and genuine and being yourself. So, good question. Awesome. So you guys ready to make a ton of money next year, this year,
Yep,
2018? Finish 2018 strong. Finish 2018 strong. And start 2019 with a bang. And waiting for perfect is never as smart as making progress. So I think this is the one thing that helped me so much when I started in real estate. I'd already failed in plenty of things in life, much like Howie. We had other businesses, we had other things going on. So I knew if I just did a little bit, like James and I were talking about right away, doing a little bit of door knocking, doing a little bit of letters, doing a little bit of these things, as long as I know they're good things, it's gonna make me progress. Things are gonna go wrong, things are not gonna work out, that's okay. Things are going to work out. So things will go wrong in the process. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to know everything. The first deal I got under contract that was creative was 0 down and $250 a month. And I didn't believe that that was a possible thing. Like, somebody told me it was possible. I was like, okay, I mean, he seems smart. I'll listen, kind of. But I questioned it the whole time. Like, I fought against that questioning. Is it really okay? Are we sure it's legal? Is the title company going to do it? You know, making sure, or just questioning. At least it didn't stop me from doing it. Unfortunately, it stops a lot of people from doing it. So a negative person sees the glass of water half empty. A positive person sees the glass half full. A realistic person adds 2 shots of whiskey, 2 cubes of ice, and says cheers. Fun, right?
Yes, sir.
So now you know everything you need to know to get started, get a subject to under contract, and get going, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So again, text me. If it didn't work, text me again.
I've done it twice.
Talk to Vinny. He'll make sure it gets done. It'll be good. ABC to 407-710-0302. Good to go.